You see, you have to realize these are psychologists, people who study how to manipulate people. And they have a racist point of view that they are impressing upon you and making a lot of money on it through psychiatry, pharmaceutical industry, etc., etc. Advertisements. It's like all the vested interests together. All the people who historically turned a blind eye to evil to make money are the ones who have backed it. The media, the banks, the government with funding pharmaceutical companies. We all know who controls the government's decisions. Much of white racists. And these sciences were started during a time when segregation was alive and well. And that was the common thought. These people are thinking, oh, black people prove our point because they're an inferior form of life, and that's why they behave in this inferior fashion. That is exactly where they're coming from. So when it evolved, it's like the KKK's argument evolving, and now it includes immigration and stuff like that, and their argument has evolved over time. The racist psychological argument has evolved over time, and my argument has always been, and always will be that the main accepted version of psychology is behavioral psychology from the white racist people who pioneered it and who guided it every step of the way, including right now. Now, so we go on to when we're talking about how this guy had to resign from Johns Hopkins University because of all the scandals surrounding his racist philosophy, and this is during a racist period in time. He's such a racist that all the racists are shocked by his racism. And this is the main school of thought that we practice today. So going on to the last couple of paragraphs, let me just finish this off. I've been making this, I was supposed to make this into one video, put it all together, but YouTube's limiting me to 15 minutes, so let me just finish this off. Among the behaviorists who continued on, there were a number of disagreements about the best way to proceed. Neo-behaviorists, kind of like a neo-Nazis, neo-behaviorists, such as Edward C. Tolman, Edwin Guthrie, Clark L. Hall, and B.F. Skinner. Everyone knows Skinner is one of the most racist people in history. Skinner was more racist than Hitler by far. It didn't come close. Hitler spent his time talking a bunch of racist stuff. Skinner spent his entire life trying to prove a bunch of racist points. There's a huge difference. Now, they debated issues such as whether to reformulate the traditional psychological vocabulary in behavioral terms or to discard it in favor of a wholly new scheme, whether learning takes place all at once or gradually, whether biological drives should be included in the new science in order to provide a motivation for behavior. See, now, notice number 3, whether biological drives should be included in the new science in order to provide a motivation for behavior. I've always said that their arguments started off as black people behave this way because they're genetically inferior. Psychology and psychiatry and the racists who work in anthropology and paleontology are hell-bent to prove that point. Hell-bent. We can go into the reasons why that is. Their ego, their family members were racist too. There's a long list of why that is. But that's where we are now, today, in the world as a sociologist who studies this as a concentration. That's one of the fields I concentrate on, sociology, the behavior of people. That's why I'm going through the history of psychiatry and psychology, because it relates to sociology. Once you understand sociology, you understand all this stuff, period. And I understand the stuff that sociologists don't understand, which is kung fu principles like level of consciousness, which I have applied superiorly in my lifetime on record. Now, go to the last paragraph. Behaviorism was the ascendant experimental model for research in psychology for much of the 20th century, largely due to the creation and successful application of conditioning theories as scientific models of human behavior. And in parentheses, it says not least of which in advertising. because it was the creation and successful application. It wasn't the fact that it was right or wrong. It was the way that it was created and the way that it was applied was friendly to the agenda of the people in charge. And they bring up advertising. I mean, once you truly read between the lines in a manner that is appropriate, I'm not guessing here. I'm not putting extra on it. I'm not putting 50 on 5. I'm telling you exactly what it is. Like when a gangster says he's an asshole, I'll tell you that the whole history behind why he's right. So when these scholarly, idiots, jerks, tell you that they're a jerk in a scholarly way and they force their point of view on you, I'll tell you why they're right that they're a jerk, and I'll tell you why they're wrong about their philosophy. And I have done that successfully every video. There isn't a single video that a rational human being could watch and not understand what I'm getting at is absolutely right and cannot be proven wrong. Okay? When people who believe that their race is superior, long before science even started looking into that, are have been throwing money at the sciences that are arguing that point. What do you think is going to happen? When these people are the people in charge, what do you think is going to happen? Their philosophy is going to be the generally accepted one. Like when Germans were putting Jews into camps, it's because the white racists in charge knew that they could get away with applying their racist psychological, anthropological, paleontological ideology on you in that manner. They knew they could get away with that, doing it just like that. And today they know they can get away with it, doing it just like this. Because the people with common sense like me, the people who are upright, moral citizens of America, will never, ever, ever, ever be in power. It will always be some shrivel, scumbag, fool. Now, I removed the second word out of that on purpose. But you know what I mean when I say shriveled. The guy's shriveled. His body parts are shriveled. His soul is shriveled. They're scum. They come from a time period where racism was the common practice. And they have made it so that our time period, it is the common practice as well. The only difference is this is the evolution. This is the scientific evolution of racism. This is the psychological evolution of racism. This is the evolution of racist philosophies, sentiments, and behaviors. This is the evolution of institutional racism. This is the evolution of cultural imperialism. This is the evolution of manifest destiny. I rest my case.